Hello and a bright and happy Chanukah to one and all. I'd like to share with you what I believe are important lessons from the lights of Chanukah. I think everyone understands and appreciates that Chanukah is about spreading the light. Chanukah is about lighting up an often dark world with the light of God, with the light of Torah, with the light of the Jewish people. But for this light to be effective, one has to have good foundations. Everyone would be aware that the menorah that we light today is based and is founded upon the menorah which was lit in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, in the Beit HaMikdash. There the menorah had to be made, as we're instructed in the Torah, of pure gold, all one piece, but with 7 branches. What is the significance of the form and shape of the menorah as described in the Torah? First of all, the menorah had to be pure gold. For Judaism to be effective, for the light of God and spirituality to penetrate, it has to be pure, has to be unadulterated, unmixed with our own limited intelligence. We need to accept all of the 613 commandments of the Torah in all of their ramifications. One cannot say, I accept this mitzvah, but I don't accept that mitzvah. For doing so is really interpolating human logic into what is essentially divine wisdom. Just because it doesn't make sense to me doesn't mean to say that it does not have validity. We do not wish to adulterate the Torah with our own limited intelligence. Therefore, the Torah tells us that the menorah has to be pure gold. And similarly also the Torah itself is pure gold. All the mitzvot of the Torah are valid. Of course, it's possible that we, practically speaking, may not be able to fulfill all of them. Perhaps emotionally we don't feel we're ready to fulfill all of them. We go step after step, or as in Hebrew we would say, shalach hashal. We don't try to take upon ourselves everything at once, but at the very same time we do accept the Torah and all of its commandments in their totality. And we don't say that one mitzvah is important and the other mitzvah isn't because I don't understand it. Second point is that the entire menorah had to be of one piece. And what this tells us is that every single commandment is connected to every other commandment. That there is no commandment in the Torah which does not contain within itself every other commandment. This could be understood by means of modern science. When we look at the human body, for example, we see a hand, we see hair, we see eyes, we see a heart, we see fingernails. The body is made up of many different organs, many different parts. Interestingly, however, if you take the DNA on the molecular level, on the cellular level, I should say, of any part of the body, you will be able to have the formula for every other part of the body. In other words, every part of the body on the cellular level contains within it the code of every other part of the body because they're all interconnected. And the same thing is also with Torah. Every single mitzvah contains within it every other mitzvah. It's all of one piece, miksha. The third point is that the menorah had 7 branches. And the meaning of this is that although the entire Torah is of one piece, nevertheless there are indeed many expressions of Torah. The Torah expresses itself through forms that various individuals will find meaningful, so that one person may feel, I really get something, a kick out of doing this mitzvah. Another person will say, well, you know what, another mitzvah is more meaningful to me. And that's fine, as long as one observes all of the mitzvot, it doesn't matter, and it's actually very good that one actually decides that according to one's personality, according to one's unique perspective on life, perhaps one mitzvah is more meaningful to you personally than the others. while at the same time you keep all of the commandments. Indeed, in the Talmud we find that there were various great sages who would say, my father was more particular about this mitzvah, my father was more particular about that mitzvah. Again, they were careful about all of them, but the Hebrew word careful also means shine. So although they were careful about all of them, they perhaps shone in one particular or another particular mitzvah of the Torah. So there's nothing wrong with individuality. The same thing also applies with the entire Jewish people. On the one hand, we have to understand that all of the Jewish people have to be pure. That doesn't mean to say racially pure, God forbid. We don't accept any notion of racial purity or impurity within Judaism. What it does mean, however, is that everyone has to be halachically Jewish. Halachically Jewish means someone who's born of a Jewish mother or converted properly according to halakha. I know Jews who are black, I know Jews who are yellow, and of course we know many Jews who are white, living as we do in Australia. We're not concerned about the origin of the Jews, we're not concerned about the color of their skin. What we are concerned about is that if they're either born of a Jewish mother or they're converted halachically, that is what makes them part of God's pure, chosen people. At the same time, every single Jew is interconnected with every other Jew. I have within myself, not on the physical level, but on the spiritual level, the DNA of every other Jew, because all the Jewish people are one body. So the black Jew, the yellow Jew, is part of my DNA as I am part of his. We're all absolutely connected. On the other hand, however, just as the menorah had 7 branches, each one of us have got unique personalities, we've got unique goals, we've got aspects of ourselves which only we can do and which no other person can do. We have our own particular, peculiar, and unique divine mission. We're all branches of the menorah, individual branches of the menorah. This then is the important lesson. If we wish to shed light, then we must both understand that the Torah itself has to be pure, and we have to be pure Jews. On the other hand, we have to understand that just as all the mitzvot of the Torah are interconnected with each other, similarly also all Jews are connected with each other. Nevertheless, this does not discount the individual personalities and soul traits, uniqueness of every individual Jew, as it does not discount the uniqueness of every single mitzvah of the Torah. And may God only help that each and every one of us should cause the light of the Torah to shine based on these principles throughout every person in the world, Jew or non-Jew. Because although we have this responsibility to maintain a halachic identity as Jews, nevertheless, we also have this responsibility to shine the light amongst all the people on earth. And from here too we can learn an important lesson from oil. On the one hand, oil, which is a substance with which the menorah was lit, is something which you lubricate an entire engine. So therefore the oil penetrates every single aspect of the motor, the engine, or whatever it is that you're using to lubricate. On the other hand, oil has got a very specific aspect to it as well, and that is that oil sits above other liquids. So if you put oil together with water, the oil will sit on top. And what that means is that if we are to fulfill our mission, which is to light up the entire world, to lubricate the entire world, then we do have to remain separate as a Jewish people. We need to be able to rise on top. Through that, we fulfill our mission. And if we think about it historically, Jews have always been separated from the other nations of the world, and at the very same time, we've had more influence on the rest of the world than any other people ever has. I wish you all a happy and bright Chanukah.